Hi, today we're going to be doing some really quick, really cheap, really easy printmaking. So I am going to first create a Baren, which is something I am able to rub the surface of the paper with to get the ink to transfer. This is in place of a printing press or something like that at a more professional institution. I'm just going to do a really quick handheld thing that is going to allow me to put pressure on the back of the paper so that the paper can pick the ink up off of the print. So that's going to be what I'm going to be doing first. That'll be 3D printed, super fun, super cheap, super DIY. You could also, in theory, do this with the back of a spoon or something else, just something to rub the back of the paper with and get your ink to transfer. And then after that, I'm going to be doing a Linocut, which, again, I've done this before, but this is a bigger one, more artistic, less rubber stamp vibes, and so that'll be fun. Check it out. Definitely follow. This is a super easy, super inexpensive hobby to get into and has a lot of reward. You can make these prints multiple times, like over and over and over again. That's kind of the idea of printmaking, which is also super cool. So yeah, check it out, follow along, and check out our store later in the month. Hopefully we'll get some of these prints up on our website, so we'll link that below too. Let's get to it. Alright, let's start off with printing a Baren. So this is something that you can find for sale, but I wanted to make my own. I found this 3D print file online in Thingiverse. I will definitely include the STL link below. But I wanted to make this myself because it's fun, and I wanted to show y'all how easy it is. And all I needed was some screws and some ball bearings from Amazon, and it was super easy to put together. This was a great 3D print, super fun. Check it out. So what this is going to achieve is somewhat even pressure across the back of the paper that I'm using the Linocut to print onto. So each little ball will be a pressure point, and there'll be a bunch of them, and I'll kind of swirl it around, and it should give me a pretty decent print. Obviously you can get professional printing presses, but this is a cheap and easy way. If you want an even cheaper way, the back of a spoon will work, but requires a lot more consistency and time. So this is a happy medium. So my friend Mo here will help me design a little Christmas print that I will be selling at a maker fair, Christmas fair this Christmas, so I'm getting that together. But design anything you want. Anything is possible on these Linocuts, essentially. Again, today we are just doing a monochrome print, just a single color, a single piece. You can start piecing these together. Let me know if you want to see a future video about a multicolored or a multi-layered print. So this is a significantly easier way to transfer print than what I did in the last video, where I printed and I drew on the back and I drew on the front, and it was all convoluted. If you just draw what you want on paper, you're essentially mirroring it by flipping it over and just kind of rub the graphite onto the vinyl. Once you've cut that, it'll reverse again when you're printing, so it actually turns out the right direction. I just used a pencil and a ruler to straighten things out a little bit because things were a little out of square. So I'm just going to take my little lino cutter tool and start tracing out the outlines of the letters. This is so that I can kind of judge where the shapes are before I go ahead and do a ton of cutting. As I'm working and testing these prints, I just use an ink pad. I have a giant one that works great for this. It's a lot faster so that as I am cutting the Linocut, I can test and just rinse it off and keep cutting. So now that I have the letters the shape that I want them, all the outlines look good, I can just take a big cutter to the fields and just cut out the giant chunks of this Linocut. This is the fun part. Not a ton of precision, just gouging vinyl. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, always be careful not to overshoot with the cutter. I've done that before and ruined a whole Linocut and had to redesign part of it because I took too much out. So keep an eye on your excitement here. The tight inside corners of the N, I'm going to come back with a smaller blade because this giant blade can't get the tiny narrow kind of base of that angle there. So I'm going to come back with a different cutter for that. I really like these vinyl blocks because they have a color change about a 1/16 of an inch down, which kind of tells you how deep to cut the vinyl. Once you've got the green showing, you're deep enough that it shouldn't turn out in a normal print. So testing once again with my ink pad, and you see that I got the little corners of the N, so I need to come back and get that, as well as any raised parts that are kind of printing where I don't want them to print. Now we're all ready to go, and I've got a raised piece of, this is foam core that I've cut out a shape for. This allows me to kind of center the print a little better, as well as kind of prevents the edges from crinkling because the vinyl is rather thick and I don't want the edges to kind of roll off and get scrunched. So we're going to start off with just a nice red print. We're going to check how this works with red because, you know, nice and Christmassy. So you just want to roll that out a ton. You roll it and roll it and roll it back and forth until you get a nice even coat on your brayer. And I'm using a little paper shield here so that I don't get ink on the foam core, and then I'm going to remove that. It just helps things be a little bit cleaner. So you roll your ink over the print and then remove your shield, and then you can see I'm using the registration marks to make sure that the paper is nice and centered, and then I'm going to come in with that Baren that we made earlier and make sure that all the little corners of that print are rubbed well onto the paper so that I get a nice clean print. Ta-da! Super easy. So here's a couple other ones that I've made for this Christmas market. Let me know if you're interested in buying any of these. Maybe I'll post them to the website later this month. In the meantime, give this a try, like, subscribe, tag us if you post your own try of this, and see you next time.